You have McGann, the Fangirl. Make sure you subscribe and check back every week for new fandom videos. Today is February 1st, 2019, the historic first day that young ladies in the US can join Scouts BSA, formerly known as Boy Scouts. In honor of that, and my daughter Kyrie being part of this history and earning all 27 of the Weebelos pins before crossover, I'm giving you my personal list of the best Scout-related films. Warning, not all of these films will be G-rated, so make sure to use good judgment and watch any films for yourself before showing them at your next gathering. Number 9. Room for One More, 1952. The summary of this movie is that a married couple with 3 kids decide to foster a girl labeled as emotionally disturbed, and after doing wonders for her, the couple brings in a disabled 12-year-old boy with a lot of attitude problems. Or that is, he has behavioral trouble and is even illiterate until he takes an interest in his foster brother's Boy Scout troop. I really like this movie. It's really this warm, rich, wholesome 50s style family movie where you go on this long journey and see their life. It's not really railroading you from one point to the next to the next. Really, my only complaint about this Cary Grant movie is that the BSA doesn't play a big enough role. It takes a good hour for the Scouts to make a major appearance, and while the role of Boy Scouts makes a huge change in little Jimmy John's life, the troop and all the BSA stuff really is more of a C plot for the film. And I will warn you, some of the film is antiquated and shows things like spankings that certain parents might not approve of. So like I said before, review the movie for yourself and make sure it's appropriate for the audience that's going to watch it. Number 8. Smart Cookies, 2012. This is a straight-to-TV movie with all the heart and sentimentality you'd expect from a Hallmark movie. It's a cutesy movie that uses the real Girl Scout brand, but it's a little bit bland for my taste. Don't get me wrong, it's a completely family-friendly movie, so it's great to show to your troop, and it has some very heartwarming moments, but it's pretty predictable, and it feels like the Girl Scouts said, "We want to be represented in a movie where there is no controversy and the Scouts are all perfect teens that only think happy thoughts." Plus, the whole territorial war over cookie season has been done to death in so many movies. Girl Scouts are more than just cookie sales. Can we please get beyond that and do other things in female scouting movies? Girls go to camp, they earn badges, they have meetings, they do things other than sit outside to sell cookies and fight with other troops about sales or territories. I was a Girl Scout leader for like 5 years and never once did I get into it with anyone about cookies. Well, with selling cookies. Paying for cookies has been a different story, but that's a whole other issue for a whole nother day. Number 7. The Wrong Guys, 1988. This movie is not the greatest cinematic achievement, but it's a fun enough movie with a lot of pretty famous comedians of the 80s like Louis Anderson. The story is about these 30-something-year-old men who never got to earn their arrow of light, so they decide that for their honor, they're going to attempt to recreate the fateful camping trip that tore their pack apart. This movie is heavy on gun usage, and it has a lot of sexual innuendo, so it might not be appropriate for most younger audiences, but it is really kind of fun to see these guys who are so devoted to their scouting background. And our primary antagonist is a young John Goodman. I mean, it's kind of cool to see him like that. Number 6. Down and Derby, 2005. This film is rated PG, but I felt like it was just one step shy of a Hallmark movie, so it's not really bad. There's no super bad language, there's no nudity. The only thing I would caution people about are the parents in this film. To summarize, our protagonist in this movie is a guy who always comes in second place to his neighbor, so when the Pinewood Derby is starting up, all the men in the neighborhood sort of lose their minds and decide that they're gonna make the cars for the kids and they're gonna be perfect and that way their kid can win, and so by proxy, they can be the best too. Come on, let's be real. Any of us who have ever volunteered with Cub Scouts know that there are parents that do this. They either go and fully make the car for their kid, taking no design input from the child who is actually supposed to be making the vehicle, or they go buy some specialty kit at Hot Hobby Lobby and suddenly 40 kids have the Batmobile that is perfectly cut and sanded. We all know what you're doing. You're not pulling anything over on anybody. But even though the film is cute and I would call it pretty family friendly, the dads in this make me nuts with how obsessive they are, and they're all building their own Pinewood Derby tracks, even spending hundreds of dollars on books and videos and tons of extra Pinewood Derby cars to make all these test models. And then they treat it like it's some top secret end of the world thing if the other neighbors know what they're doing. It's a little bit ridiculous, and it made me crazy that his wife never fully stood up to him other than saying, "I'm going to my mother's." No, really stand up to him, tell him no, take the track out of your bedroom, and then go about your day. Explain to your husband he has to go to work because he's crazy. And there wasn't even a prize to win at the end. It was all just for honor. So the whole thing makes me nuts at how serious these dads took it and how much of the fun they sucked away from their own kids because of it. But I'd also bet that if you played this at your Cub Scout event, you're gonna get a roar of laughter from the kids who do have to live through this nonsense. Number 5, Scout's Guide to the Zombie Apocalypse, 2015. This movie is definitely not for kids, but if you like action and horror centered around a scouting theme, this is your movie. This is a pretty B-list horror film. I would pretty much rate it as a black comedy because it's so silly, but if you've ever wondered how Boy Scouts would fare during the zombie apocalypse, this is the movie for you. Number 4, Troop Beverly Hills, 1989. This is a movie about a woman who just basically decides one day that she wants to be this knockoff Girl Scout leader to the Wilderness Girls, and then follows her misadventures as the head of a troop of misfit girls. This film oozes classic 80s antics, and even though the film is aged and can look dated, it's still relevant enough for people to enjoy today. Number 3, Mr. Scoutmaster, 1953. This pompous man decides that he must relate to kids for his work, so he becomes the Scoutmaster of a Boy Scout troop where one little wolf cub keeps tagging along. It turns out that the cub is an orphan who not only helps to save the Scoutmaster, but ends up becoming his adopted son by the end of the film. That seems like a spoiler, but you can see the resolution coming a mile away. Overall, this is a fairly wholesome movie that should be suitable for most viewers. It's kind of what you'd expect to see if Fraser Crane ran a scout troop, if that's still a relevant reference. Even though the movie does primarily focus on the adult Scoutmaster and the little Cub Scout that's not really part of his troop, there's still tons of official BSA stuff going on to make this a really enjoyable movie for most troops. Number 2, The Boss, 2016. This movie is really funny, especially if you've survived a cookie season as a leader, but do not show this to your young scouts. Watch it first because there is so much inappropriateness going on within the film. If you really want to show this movie to a group, try a group of leaders, not scouts. But in this film, we have a power businesswoman who loses her career and sets her sights on starting a new Girl Scouting organization in order to get rich again off of the girls selling food products. A lot of these movies are fish out of the water leaders learning to change who they are to mold themselves into better people, and I won't say that The Boss is an exception to this, but it does have a few unique twists, especially the Girl Scout cookie fight. In other female-based scouting movies, we see a lot of leader tension between the cookie sales, but this broke out into an all-out brawl over who was gonna sell where. And drumroll please, you made it to the end of the list. We're at number 1! And my top pick for the best scouting movie is Follow Me, Boys, 1966. This was the last live-action Disney film made when Walt Disney was still alive. It chronicles the life of a Scoutmaster who dedicates most of his adult life to Boy Scouts. They use real uniforms, ranks, and badge names, and it was a BSA-approved film. My opinion is that this movie really encompasses the best parts of scouting, being in a troop, and the skills they learn from being in Scouts. And even though Scoutmaster Lem Siddons is the main title character, there are tons of occasions where the boys get to be center stage, and we go through several different generations of troops, so you really see how things change over the years. This is one of the few movies where the Scouts are the core of the film, not just a side story or plot device. Truly, it's the best representation of scouting on film that I've ever found, and I fully encourage you to watch it for yourself. It's sweet, it's cute, it's heartwarming, it's endearing, it's It's very family friendly, and it shows scouting in an incredibly positive light, so it's possibly a great recruitment tool because after I saw it, I was all like, sign me up, I need to volunteer more! And that's how I went from a Girl Scout leader to also a Cub Scout leader. But really, this is a nice sort of people story of a film. There's no real villain, there's nothing they're really fighting, it's all just people in life enjoying scouting. And I dare you to get the marching song out of your head afterwards.
Follow me, boys, follow me. Pick 'em up, put 'em down and follow me.
Hey, that's pretty good.
Alright, there you have it. That was my list. Do you agree with my rankings? Or are there any scouting movies that you would have put in that I didn't? Let me know in the comments. I would love to hear your opinions. Well, that's all I have for now, but this video's not quite over yet. I get a lot of comments that say, do a theory on this topic, but I've already done those theories. So please consider going to my main channel page and clicking on the video tab so that way you can see everything I've done. You will probably find a lot of things you like that you never even knew that I posted. I want to let you know that I also have two other channels, Say Halo Goodbye Gaming and the Fanily Family Vlogs. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you enjoyed enough to hit subscribe and share. I can use all the help I can get to let other people know that this channel exists. And if you made it this far, leave me a comment that says something like, hey, I made it to the end, and then let me know what kind of videos you want to see in the future. I can't make any promises, but the more people that request something, the more I can look into it. Okay, well, I love you. I'll see you in the next video.